Yep.
Director Elliott, take it away.
All right, thanks. Okay, thanks, Commission. Before you is our draft 2023 to 2025 strategic plan in your packet. It looks like this. I'm sure that's going to show up on the camera. I don't know how to operate in a real meeting here, but all good. It's and for the public, it's included in the packet, this draft strategic plan, as well as a agenda report or staff report on the background. So I'll just provide a little bit of the background on this and where this came from. And what we are seeking today is feedback from the Commission on our draft strategic plan, and then ultimately approval of this draft or any direction that the Commission wants to give to staff as far as this draft. So for some context, in 2021 and into 2022, previous Parks and Rec Commission member and Chair J.M. Brown had a question for staff as far as our plans or strategies to implement the 2030 Parks Master Plan. We didn't have a great answer to that question. So to go backwards, the 2030 Parks Master Plan was adopted in the year 2020, approved, and the CEQA Environmental Impact Report was approved by City Council in 2020. So following that meeting, this question came up from the Commission: how are we implementing the Parks Master Plan? So Parks Master Plan gives all sorts of goals and objectives in there. And so staff have been working really since that time to come up with a way to implement the goals and objectives in the Park Master Plan. For some additional context, each budget year, staff put together annual goals as part of the city's budget process. So we've had a bit of a gap. So we've had this overarching plan, the 2030 Master Plan, and then these very specific annual goals that we put in the budget. We've had this gap in terms of what is our strategy. So how do we identify and articulate priorities from the Park Master Plan, distill those into a 3-year chunk, and then ultimately lead those into the specific goals that we include in the budget. So this led us toward creating this tool, this Parks and Recreation strategic plan for 2023 to 25. So in addition to needing this tool and kind of connecting the dots between big picture and kind of an annual set of goals, a strategic plan is really a best practice for Parks and Rec departments. So we are in an ongoing effort and process to become a nationally accredited Parks and Recreation agency through the National Recreation and Parks Association, and the accrediting agency is called CAPRA, the Commission for the Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies. And one of the key standards is 2.5 of CAPRA accreditation, which says, among many things, an agency shall have a strategic plan approved by the approving authority, stating how the agency will achieve its mission, goals, and objectives over an extended period of time, typically 3 to 5 years. And it goes into more detail on suggested evidence of compliance, and other pieces to that particular goal. The other thing that we want to include in here in our strategic plan in terms of content for the Commission to review are the type of goals and objectives and what we call milestones. We want to make those SMART goals. So we want them to, this is this acronym, right? So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So setting really clear goals that we can measure and then report back to the Commission and ultimately report to the City Council and the community as well. So before the Commission tonight is our draft strategic plan, which takes goals and milestones from the 2030 Parks Master Plan. It has gone through a lot of internal review among staff over the last year and more to really hone these in terms of what are the priorities, what's achievable, how are we going to measure these. So it's our best effort to put those forth in the strategic plan to guide the work of the next few years. So really everything that's in here is not new. It comes from the Park Master Plan. So it's all the same type of goals and objectives, but it's just distilled in a way to focus our work for the next few years. There's one exception to that, which is included in this plan, and that's staff safety. So as the Commission knows, over the past couple of years, staff safety has become a huge issue with the firebombing of the Parks Yard, threats and assault on staff members, a lot of theft, a lot of vandalism. So we've had serious and ongoing staff safety concerns. So that has really emerged as a key priority for us in terms of how do we keep our staff safe, and ultimately how do we keep the public safe as well. So of all of the different strategic themes, this is page 4 in the draft plan. These themes that you'll see: design excellence, play, community health and interaction, stewardship, sustainability, so on and so forth. Those all come directly from the master plan. The only one that's new is safety first. And that is really oriented toward keeping our staff and the public in our parks and facilities safe. So that's the only really new kind of key theme or strategic theme that's included here. So that's a bit of the context and what is included here. Really just want to open it up to conversation from the commission, welcome any feedback, any questions. Would also welcome input from the Parks and Rec leadership team here too, as far as process or content. But I'll start with that summary and send it back to the chair for any questions.
So commissioners will ask questions first, and then we'll.
Yeah, I do. You were saying that the new one, additional, is safety first. I do know that in the park master plan, there is a section on that, and it was pretty heavy emphasized. So I kind of feel that this is just building on what is in there.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I would welcome the team to speak to that. But yeah, we wanted to really bolster this one up and call it out, especially in terms of staff safety. So that's right on.
Yeah, and community safety, because we're losing a lot of residents going to the park because of that.
Yep.
And that was, anyway. I rest my case.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I have a follow-up question and set of comments to the staff safety versus community safety. Are there sort of documented episodes of community safety too, where it's been maybe not more than harassment and physical issues that you all have to respond to?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Who is sort of jurisdictionally, like if something's happening in the park, is it like a park's issue or is it outside of that?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. In terms of community safety, several sources of data for that, right? So through the police department, calls for service, so to 911 or non-emergency, they've got a subset of data that they will report on at the public safety committee meetings, public meetings. So these are a lot of sort of nuisance calls that come into 911 and non-emergency, but also police and fire responses to the parks as well. So there's data there. As we've heard from the police department, that is not always the most reliable data for a number of reasons that our colleagues in law enforcement could speak to. But we've also done some assessment within the department as well. So we did some analysis the past couple of years in terms of different, what's the word I'm looking for? Our different incidents. Yeah, it's an incident tracking sort of, I don't even want to call it a program. It's basically a piece of paper and a pencil, more or less. But what we've really charged staff with are keeping an eye on everything in, say, a subset of parks for a certain amount of time that are violations of municipal code to much more egregious situations. So there was a period, I think it's a couple years ago now, that we looked at a subset of parks and looked at dogs off leash, people smoking in a park, to vandalism and other situations going on. And I think it was several hundred, I forget, it was 600 or 700 incidents, violations of the law, I think generally that we observed within, I think it was a month period. So I'm summarizing here. So, but we can provide more information on that. But so we've done that assessment internally as well. So in terms of these issues that we see in parks or that we face, how we respond, and I'm not sure if this is speaking to your question, but more often than not, it's a call to the police department, either non-emergency or through 911. In other cases, Fish and Wildlife could be involved. in some cases where we have break-ins or vandalism, we may file a police report. In a lot of cases, we may not, and we just go in and repair those situations. So we have cost estimates in terms of some of those repairs as they come up, but trying to do more and more accounting to keep an eye on what are we spending, what are we having to carve out of our budgets, for example, to remediate major issues in the parks.
Yeah, this is a sort of where I'm going here.
Yep.
I'm just looking at this. I mean, I know we've talked sort of about staff safety as a major priority, which it is obviously, but then seeing, I don't think I had the gravity of the situation of like firebombing vehicles and that sort of premeditatedness. And then noticing also, along when I'm going back to it now, but kind of one of the goals is aim for zero encampments in city parks. And if these things are all sort of connected into a public safety set of responsibilities, that it probably seems like public safety budgets should be available for this type of work too, because it's so integrated. Just wondering if that is that part of the discussion is like, hey, we're doing some of the public safety stuff over here with not enough money.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's I think fundamentally a question of resources, right? Yeah. So we had the Rangers were cut in budgets a couple years ago. That was part of the challenges that we face. But yeah, enforcement ultimately comes down to the police department, and so they've talked about a park police unit. They don't have the resources to do that at this point, but there are major needs, and so whether that's hardening facilities. Which we don't love to do, to put up fences and those type of things. And just sometimes that's what we're having to do. We're having to spend a lot of money in this realm. But we definitely need that, security patrol, that, cameras, that sort of eyes on our parks where there's a lot of things happening, whether premeditated or not premeditated, a lot of resources needed.
We had a lot of actually really good recommendations when we had the ad hoc committee, and out of that we fleshed some good ideas, and they actually were never pursued. They were presented to the city council, but the result is that it intensified because nothing was really done in regard to that. And so it's kind of nipping the thing right away instead of waiting and letting it escalate. And it does impact the community because I know what the community says. So, yeah, we can talk about the safety thing forever and ever, but unless it has some teeth in it, unless it has a combo, collaboration impact, that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the homeless response team at city manager's office, and it looks like they're providing alternative shelter to parks. So is there more than what we're aware of up at La Diega? Is there service? Have they added more? What is that referring to?
So this is the safety first section in the draft plan.
Provides alternative shelter to parks and recreation facilities is being implemented. What has been implemented?
Yeah, and I don't have the details. Maybe I'll welcome Superintendent Beck on this one. But the city over the past year or so has spun up a new homeless response team and assigned Lisa Murphy, who was previously the city's human resources director, as the deputy city manager for homelessness response. She has a team, Larry Mwale, who's the city's homelessness services manager, I think, and a small team there of folks who are cleaning up things and contacting folks who are unsheltered in the community. So that's that team. So they are helping to, hopefully the goal is to offset some of the work of, say, the parks team in terms of encampment cleanup and these type of things. But yeah,
This is showing evidence
Yep.
of improvement. So where are we seeing?
yeah,
What I'm hearing from the community is Neary is horrible.
yep,
Sycamore Grove, not good.
yep.
Um,
De La Viega.
so, I mean, would you agree with this statement? Because I just don't know where this comes from, and I was hoping to see an example.
Yep.
Hey,
But
Holly.
I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
If I can jump in, so these are the 2025 milestones. So this is, I
Okay,
think, where
so
we
it hasn't
hope to
happened
be
yet.
in 2025. But I think the observations are very valid.
Thank you. I didn't mean to drill you, but I'm just like, I don't know what that means.
But I think also to your question, there has the homeless response team achieved this goal? I would say no, not yet. But what are they doing to work that direction? We can get that information from them. They've got reports. They've got a meeting coming up at City Council soon. I think in April, I believe, with an update from that team on what progress they're making. So we can get that report and provide that back to the commission. But I think one thing just to acknowledge, one of these milestones is for there to be 0 encampments in city parks by 2025. And so that absolutely has to be a collaborative goal with a variety of strategies leading into that in terms of housing or shelter, some enforcement perhaps. So there's got to be a lot of effort to get to that point, but it starts with common agreement as well. We can't just say it in Parks and Rec, but the city manager's office, police department, other city council has to really be on board with that as well.
Because it sounds like what they're leaning towards is we have to have an alternative shelter for people to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we have like this new homeless response team, and we just had this lengthy in our retreat talk in budget. So how does that all play together? It would be nice to be transparent and let everyone know.
Yep. Yeah, we can provide more information on that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Angel, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. You're viewing.
I have a question, kind of comment question. So it's around the CAPRA.